Hello. We're going to start out standing today for our breathing warm up. Set your feet parallel, about hip width apart. And before we get formally moving, let's take a second to adjust your posture, feel your weight, and try to find a comfortable way to stand. So, in just getting into feeling your feet a little bit, why don't you rock your weight around? I'm kind of shifting, I'm going to call it towards the edges of my feet, but I'm using just this left right shift to feel where that outer edge is. You can do a little forward backwards rocking. Sense the way your toes grip as you shift forward and then just settle back. You'll feel like your hip flexors and your abs usually are what people can identify as they catch themselves back on their heels. And as you're just playing around with feeling the edges of your feet to know where they are, we're going to gradually make that smaller, getting your weight onto your heel. And just functionally for that, your heel is the biggest bone in your foot, designed to carry most of the load of our weight. So the hips, the ribs, and the head stacked over the heels will give you your optimal posturing, but also movement potential. By keeping most of the weight off the front of the foot, I can let my toes lift, my foot shift to adapt to uneven surfaces or direction changes. That turned into a lecture I didn't mean to be giving you, but worthwhile. Now let's breathe. I want you to start with your arms hanging by your sides, and we're just going to go into a pattern with the arms first. I want you to take a breath in with your palms sticking out to the sides. On your exhale, rotate your arms in, and as you bring them in front of you, we've got the back of the hands facing each other. And then as you inhale, turn your palms out as you swing your arms back. And let's just do that. Exhale towards the front, inhale towards the back. We're going to keep doing that rhythm of breathing and swing of the arm. Now let's add a little exhale into flexion as you go forward. Inhale, push into your heels, lift your chest as you reach back. Exhale, circle the arms around to the front. Inhale, open, reach back and expand the chest. Exhale, flex forward, bending the knees a little. Straighten the knees as you lift your heart and look up. One more time. Exhale, flex forward. And then inhale up and open the chest. All right. Back to the feet. Just make sure, I haven't really given myself enough room. Just make sure you have a little space to move around. Okay, we're going to play Foot's Nailed to the Floor now. So this is a game just about pivoting lunge, where we're focusing on how we land and how we push back off to move again. So you're going to pretend I've nailed one foot to the floor, let's say in the space right between the ball of your foot and your index toe knuckle, to be specific. And then I want you to start lunging, keeping that one foot on the ground. And I'm going to call it a lunge, but let's not be too picky about form. It could be a squat. It could just be a lean to the side. What I want you to do, it could be a curtsy. I want you to do a variety of movement. What we're practicing here is coming down on the ground carefully, shifting all of our body parts so we distribute the landing and create good force to push off again. This also improves mobility in the foot itself, which is great. If you spend a lot of time in shoes, you may have to work to get good extension through that part of your foot. I'm just going to have you do one more on that foot. All right, let's switch. I also find this to be a nice game or activity to do as a warm-up exercise because you can control the size. If you're feeling really tight or if your knees are hurting, just don't go as far into the movement. Focus more on spinning and just mentally exploring how many different ways you can move your leg. But you hear my breath gets a little quicker. My heart rate might be just going up a teeny weeny bit. But that's a good way to just get energy flowing through your body before we start. Let's do 2 more of those. All right. Let's take this conversation down to the floor. What I'd like to focus on today as we go through our exercises is picking up sensations, cues that come from inside of your body that we respond to, which is our interoception, our sense of the sensory nerves that are picking up signals from inside. And sometimes that's not about movement. It could just be grumbling in your tummy, right? Observing that you're hungry, things like that. And then proprioception is how our sensory nerves pick up cues from our environment. So anytime I'm telling you something like push away from the floor, we're trying to stimulate the nerves in the hands in that case. So let's go down onto the hands and the knees. Your hands, your feet, and then your sit bones are three regions that have a lot of these sensory nerves from the outside because they're the ones that we use as contact points for standing, for sitting, for grabbing things. So let's just set a good base of support with your back nice and flat. Normally when we get here, I tell you to do something defined, like a cat stretch. But right now, I want you to play around with exploring potential for movement. So let's start at your pelvis, and we will do something simple first. Imprint and release is that small pelvic tilt that we usually teach you on your back. I want you to explore just rocking your tail under and back out. And so you'll see I'm keeping it small enough that my upper body's not really affected by it. The tuck of the tailbone does start to flex my lower spine. And then when I stick the tail back out, it restores the curvature to the lower back that we expect in our standing posture. Do that 2 more times. Okay, just to kind of feel out what it can do in that plane. Now, how about if you swing it side to side like you were a dog wagging its tail? So we also have this potential for hip hiking as well as flexing and extending. So when we teach you your neutral position, there is this like optimal position where your body has no tension and where you feel like you can support your posture. But you can really think of neutral more as a zone than one place. It's a place we can start from that gives us many potentials for movement. So now, last thing I want you to do with the pelvis in isolation, can you play around with a full circle of your hips? And this might start to express part of a cat stretch. That if you're really just letting the pelvis go around through flexion, you'll find your mid-back starts to round a little bit. And now go the other way. Okay, so just like when you're doing a hula hoop, if we were standing, we've got this swivel potential in your hips. And notice without me giving you much more correction, you're making it whatever size is appropriate for your body. You're naturally going to avoid ranges that feel uncomfortable and seek out ways to kind of mobilize and stretch your back. All right, while I've got you here, let's do a little rotational movement. So we're going to do the good old thread the needle. When you exhale, I want you to take one arm, reach it under the other, and you're going to rotate. Let your hips sit back and let your shoulder drop towards the floor. And then as you inhale, come back to the center. Rotate to the other side, sinking that shoulder down, and then return. On this, I'm trying to resist flexing my spine. So as you're picking up on cues from the inside, try to feel your sit bones pushing into your skin at a back and upward angle, like closer to where the ceiling meets the wall. I almost said where the floor meets the ceiling. That would be a very tiny room. One more to each side, sitting back, sit bones nice and wide, and back to the center, and then shifting over and back to the center. Okay, let's take you down onto your back, get you off your wrists. When you get there, just roll your wrists around a couple times. Do, 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 do. Look at their potential. Okay. You're going to work with your knees bent in a little space between your feet. And I want you to see if you could make that pelvic rocking motion here too, the kind of circular action. So what I'm exploring now that my pelvis is fixed to the ground, I'm tilting it a little bit to the left, rocking it backwards through imprint as I go through the center, off to the right, and then pubic bone heavy to bring the arch back into my back. Don't micromanage it as much as I said. I just wanted to give you a direction of motion. And then try a few the other way. So if you don't dance, if you don't play a sport where you're pivoting and switching directions a lot, this might feel a little foreign to you. There's a good reason to explore it. We can't get good at something until we become aware it's a thing. One more time. All right, and then just settle in. All right, arms down by your sides. Let's go into a round of hip rolls from here. So now we're going to move through flexion, trying to stay along the midline of your body. As you exhale, start to tilt your pelvis and begin to curl the spine off the mat. Roll up a bone at a time till you're at the base of the shoulder blades. And the whole time, I want you to keep pulling your knees away from your shoulders so you stretch the front of your legs. Stay here and take a breath in. And then when you exhale, start to roll back down, dropping one rib at a time, then the bones of your low back, and then your hips. And as you inhale, rock back to neutral. Exhale, curl the hips off. We want to compress the abs using the force of the breath. Tip the pubic bone up as you roll off. And try to lift from the strength of your glutes and your hamstrings in the back of the legs. Inhale, breath to stay, and then exhale as you roll back down again. Rock back to neutral. One more time that way. Exhale as you curl the pelvis off the mat. Try to stay with that compressive force of your abs at the top that helps you reduce tension in your back. Inhale to stay, and then roll it back down, trying to pull your hips toward your heels as you melt into the mat. And then rock yourself back to a neutral spine. All right, we're going to make it a little tougher. As you exhale, roll yourself off again. Establish your bridge at the top. Now this time, take one arm overhead. When you roll back down, challenge yourself to stay in the center. Try to feel the vertebra press into the mat, and notice how the two sides of your rib cage now feel different. Come back to neutral and lower your arm. And again, roll up on the exhale. We'll take your other arm overhead. So as you're rolling down, your job is to stay centered. That's a challenge. But when we do, that creates a stretch on the side with the arm reaching overhead, a big stretch for your lat, one of your back and shoulder muscles. And then lower your arms. Let's do one more on each side. Roll up on the exhale. Okay. So we get some stretch into that muscle when the arm goes overhead, and then it's the force of the skeleton sinking into the soft tissue behind it that improves or increases that stretch even more. Inhale, lower your arm. One more time. Exhale, curl your hips off, establish the bridge first, and as you inhale, send that arm overhead. Now as you exhale, roll back down, pass through imprint, rock back to neutral, and lower your arm. All right, from here, I want you to turn onto your side. You're going to place your bottom arm behind your head, and you're going to take both legs into tabletop position. Right now, just leave your hand on the mat in front of you. We like to pretend this like a little kickstand. It'll give you a little bit of extra support to prevent rotation. But that being said, make sure you're not leaning back. I want you to get shoulder over shoulder, so you're planting into that hand without shrugging up there. Okay, stabilizing your torso, we're going to do leg circles with your top leg. Leave your knee bent as you do this. So you're going to take the leg up. We're going to go up and around and then back down. Let's do an inhale as you're going up and an exhale as you're going down. Now, when I draw the circle, I'm also trying to keep my hips stacked. So as the leg goes back, I have a feeling of pushing my top hip forward to keep the alignment hip over hip. One more time. Forward and up, and around and down. Now let's take that backwards. You're going back and up on your inhale, forward and down as you exhale. Inhale as you begin your circle, and exhale to return. While you're breathing, try to feel your inhale expand both sides of your rib cage. You're going to do 2 more times. Inhale and exhale down. 1 more time. And then back down. All right, from there, I want you to leave your bottom leg bent. I want you to straighten out your top leg. And for now, you can just let it rest for a second. Top arm is going to reach forward at chest height, and we're going to do an opposing action between your arm and your leg. All right, so arm to shoulder height, leg to hip height. You're going to take an inhale breath, take your top arm above your shoulder. I want you to kick your leg forward with your foot flexed as you rotate your upper body back on your exhale. And then you're going to lift your arm back up to the ceiling, rotate over to close, kick your leg back. I think I'm going to change the breathing. I'm sorry about that. Do an inhale breath for the whole way back. We just keep this on a 2 breath, not a 4 breath. Exhale to close it back down. I was talking out of habit, sorry. Inhale, reach back, let your chest open. That leg kicking forward should give you the opposition you were making before, stabilizing your hips. So we want to counterbalance those 2 forces. Push out through the heel. Exhale, close it back over. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, reach back, expanding with the breath. Exhale, compress your abs, rotate back. 1 more time, breathe in. And exhale to close it back over. All right, let's flip you over to the other side. All right, so let's go back to the bent knees and this idea of stabilizing your torso while mobilizing your hips. So again, feedback. Hand into mat, give a little pressure. Activate the arm just enough to keep you stable. Hips stacked on top of each other. Let's get that top leg ready to work. So you're going to inhale, drawing the first half of your circle. Exhale, take it back and down around to that bottom leg. So the picking it up from inside of your body sensation I'm going for here is the way you're contracting your glute, pushing the hip forward as the leg goes back. Inhale, forward and up, and exhale, back and down. We're going to do 2 more this way. Tuning into the breath, get those abs to contract with your exhale. 1 more time, and then back and down. Now let's reverse it. Breathe in, go back and up. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale, back and up for half the circle. Exhale, forward and down. 4 more times. And exhale. Inhale, back and up. And exhale down. Big breath into the back and the sides of your ribs. Compress the abs as you exhale. 1 more time. Keep pushing that top hip forward and lower back down. All right. For your next exercise, we got that arm reaching forward. You got your leg out. Okay. We're going to get them lined up, still parallel alignment with the leg at hip height, arm reaching forward at chest height. Start kicking forward with your foot flexed. You're going to inhale as the leg goes forward, arm reaches back to twist. Exhale, point your toes, kick the leg back and lower the arm. Inhale, forward kick, rotate the upper body, look towards the hand. Exhale, compress your abs, rotate back to close. And big inhale breath, let your head follow the hand. Exhale, pull your abs in, rotate, drop the arm. And inhale, and exhale to close. 2 more times like that. Big breath in, and exhale, use your abs to bring that arm back. Last one. Inhale, reaching out through the heel, and exhale, close it back over again. All right, I want you to turn back onto your back. Let's place your hands behind your head. Take a wide grip and angle your elbows forward slightly to set this up. All right, rocking the pelvis again. Just flatten your back, arch your back. Flatten your back, arch your back. Just kind of get that little rock a few times. And I want you to settle into the spot where you have a little bit of curve under your low back and your pubic bone is about level with your hip bones. Okay, so that's just our rough sense of neutral when we're keeping the pelvis still. Now let's try to leave the pelvis in neutral while we do a little crunch with your upper body. Take an inhale breath before you start. When you exhale, tip your chin down slightly to start curling your head and shoulders off the mat. And I want you to stop when you're at the base of your shoulder blades. We're going to hold at the top, take a breath in, looking at your thighs, and then exhale as you come back down. Breathe in at the bottom. So we want to tip the chin down to start the movement. If you're looking at your thighs, you've done that right. As you hold for your inhale, you want to let the breath expand the sides of the ribs. And then I want you to keep looking at your legs as you come down on that exhale. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, nod the chin, flex forward. You should have just a bit of spreading of the shoulder blades there because you're flexed. Hold here, breathe in, and then exhale as you return. Just one more slow one. Inhale at the bottom. Now exhale and feel how the force of blowing the air out helps you come up. Just slides the ribs down to the hips. Stay at the top for a breath in, and then exhale to come down with control back to where you started. All right, exact same move, but we're doing it on a 2-breath pattern. So you're going to exhale, tip your chin down and flex forward. Then inhale, come right back down. Exhale as you curl up. Try to let your head relax into your hands. One of the things we're training in this movement is to learn to lift the head using the strength of the abs, the stability of your shoulder girdle, so that you do not have extra tension in your neck. But that's a process. One more time that way. Again, we can't fix something till we bring it into our consciousness. And just sensing when you're tense and you're not doing what I'm saying is more than half the battle to changing it. All right, we're going to take that base move. We're going to add a rotation to it. Now, when you exhale, I want you to curl up your head and shoulders, but you're going to rotate to one side and march the leg on the side you're turning towards, and then inhale to come back down. Now, let's switch sides. So rotate, march the leg up and lower. So my goal here is to aim my elbow towards that marching knee, but not touch them together. I'm putting a constraint on it. The limit is that I want to keep one shoulder blade down on the mat. Exhale, flex forward and twist. Inhale to lower. And I don't know how many things you can think of at once, but if you got space for one more, ideally your pelvis still isn't moving. That's going to be real hard. We had a potential for it to rock forward and backwards when we were just doing that basic crunch, but now that we're rotating, it could go off course in any direction. 3 more times. So keep that pubic bone heavy. Try to sense your sacrum, the triangle bone in the back of your pelvis. That's another good reference point to know you're in the middle. And just one more time, rotate and lift, and then lower back down. All right, I want you to turn over onto your stomach. Let's hit a little extension with your back to balance that out. I'm going to have you work with your legs open about hip width apart, maybe even a little wider, with your toes turned out into lateral rotation. And I want you to make a W shape with your arms. Angle your elbows in a little closer to you than your hands. That's where I come up with that W. We're going to start out with a small extension that we gradually make bigger. When we're extending from just your upper back, a lot of how we don't get tension into your neck comes from making body parts work together, coordinating the shoulders and the shoulder blades to support what's happening at the neck. So first, I'd like you to take an inhale and visualize yourself as long. From the very top of your head, you're going to reach forward towards the wall in front of you. Then when you exhale, I want you to start to look off the edge of your mat to lift your head. Press away with your forearms and pull your shoulder blades back and down. And I want you to stop when you're at your last rib. And most people can still keep their forearms down at that point. Stay here and take a breath in. Try to allow your breath to expand your chest. And then when you exhale, lower back down again. Okay, so we take that inhale, pause, making a little traction as we fill up with all that air. And then as you exhale, start to lift up, letting your nose and your gaze lead the movement. Give a little pressure into the forearms and try to use your upper back muscles to lift you into extension. Now stay here. Your inhale should feel nice and free into your chest because we have so much room there. And then exhale, compress your abs, hug your ribs together, melt back down. One more like this. Inhale, breath at the bottom. And then exhale, start to lift. So we don't have to do much with your neck because it already curves in this direction. We want to put the emphasis in trying to get more extension through the upper back. Hold here, breathe in again to stay. And then exhale, compress your abs, hug your ribs together, lower yourself back down. Now let's make this bigger and see if we can come up into full extension or as much as feels comfortable on your back. So this time you're going to inhale to prepare. As you exhale, we're going to go through the position we've been practicing. So head, shoulder blades pull back and down. When we get to that last rib, we're going to start lifting the elbows, maintain the extension of the upper body, and you can rise all the way up till just your pubic bone and your thighs are left on the mat. Now hold here for your inhale and imagine you're bringing yourself forward in space with that breath. And then exhale to come back down. This is another great time to visualize space between each bone as you place it down. Because again, I want your back to feel strong. I want it to be able to contract, but I don't want it to be so tight it feels crushing on those vertebrae. Inhale at the bottom, head reaches away from your toes. Exhale, start to lift the head and the chest. Draw your shoulder blades back and down. Keep pulling your abs in to give you support for the low back. Stay here, take an inhale at the top. You should feel some activation in the glutes at this moment. And then exhale to lower back down, pulling your body away from that pubic bone. Long torso. Each rib drops one at a time, then your neck and head. One more time this way. Inhale at the bottom. And then exhale. Head and chest come up. Shoulder blades go back and down. Press into the heels of your hands to help lift you up. Stay here for one more breath in at the top. And then exhale as you return. Drawing the abs in, sinking your ribs, then your neck and your head. Okay, let's just do a little more work for the glutes while we're here. I still want you to turn out, but if you listen to me with the wider than hip width, just pull it into hip width now. Hands are going to go under your forehead. And we're going to start with just an isolation. To get the most work out of your glutes on this one, try to keep your knees straight. So you're going to take a breath in to prepare. When you exhale, you're going to lift one leg just an inch or two off the mat. And I want you again to make it long, like you're trying to touch the wall behind you as it comes up. And then inhale to lower back down. So you can see it wasn't real big. Exhale, now the other leg lifts up and inhale to lower. Now just keep going while I teach you about it. So in this exercise, we're trying to isolate a leg lift into extension. And I already said, keeping the knees straight, keeping the toes pointed, so the load of my leg feels heavy to pick up for the glutes and the hamstrings. While that's going on at the legs, this is also a very good stabilization exercise for your trunk. If you can sense your two hip bones and your pubic bone against the mat like a triangle, you're trying to keep the pelvis stable and resist rocking side to side as you pick the leg up. And inhale to lower. We're just going to do one more on each side like that and then just make it a little more challenging. And inhale back down, lengthen and lift the leg and lower. And this is great because it strengthens our extension, which is really good for the push-off phase when we're walking. We need these muscles. All right, so now to make it a little tougher, we're going to start with both legs hovering, and we're going to do it like a quick little flutter kick. But again, small and low is the key to this. So now when you exhale, squeeze both your glutes and pick your legs up just off the mat. Now as you inhale, we're going to flutter for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're breathing in the rhythm of the 100. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale to your back and pull your navel to your spine. 2 more sets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Last 10. Keep them low. 4, 5, and 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Reach everything out long and lower them back down to the mat. All right, from here, push yourself back into the shell stretch. Hips onto your heels, spine rounded. Bring the focus of your breath into your back. I want you to take an inhale, feel the back of the ribs expand. Stay for an exhale, pull your abs in a little deeper, release tension out of your neck and shoulders. Take one more breath in to stay at the bottom. As you exhale, roll yourself up into a sitting position. Okay, we're going to stay seated. Legs out in front of you, they can be straight or you can go into a slight bend in your knees. Start with your hands resting on your legs, and I want you to sit up nice and straight, pretend you're sitting against a wall on your sit bones so we get that feedback, rib cage and head right over your hips. You're going to inhale to prepare. On your exhale, tip your chin down and start to round forward as if curling yourself off that wall, and you're going to slide your hands down towards your feet as you flex your spine. Now stay here and take a breath in and see if you can encourage the air into your back because the back muscles should disengage here. Then when you exhale, start to stack up. At first you'll sense you're drawing your abs in, but then it's the muscles of the mid and the upper back that bring you up to vertical. From here, swing your arms around to the back so we can kind of keep this moving. You're going to go through that neutral, lift your chest into extension, and then return to vertical with your hands on your legs. So you're going to nod the chin, flex forward, scoop the abs in. You can pretend there's like a ball sitting here and we're trying to round up and over it as we flex. Now inhale, put the breath into your back, sense the ribs expanding in your skin, and then exhale, roll back up. Push down into your sit bones, draw those abs in to help you stabilize, find your vertical. Now we swing the hands to the back, lift your chest, roll those shoulders back, take a big inhale to your chest, and then return to your neutral. Just one more time like that. Grow tall and then fall forward as you exhale. Big inhale into the back of the body, and then exhale, roll back up to the top. Hands around to the back, lift your heart, pull your shoulders back, look at the ceiling, and then return to a neutral spine. All right, back up to standing to finish. Excuse me for just one second. I put a timer on because I have another class in a second. Okay. All right, so we started standing. I want to come back to standing. Just put a little side bend and a little coordination into the end of the move. So when we're creating a side bend for the sake of the side bend, let's set your feet parallel, hip width apart, and once again, try to root down into your heels. When you push down into your feet, you're going to have this opposing force where the top of your head lifts up to the ceiling. And that's what I want you to work with. Let's reach one arm up to the ceiling. So just like you've made yourself tall, rooting down into that foot should help you reach that arm up even higher, where you already will feel a tractioning in the side of your body. Keep that foot rooted down, and then you're going to pour yourself over to the side. Stack all the way up to vertical, and then lower that hand. Let's switch. So as the arm goes up, you're going to root down into the foot. I get that traction, and then take it into the stretch. Good. Rise all the way back up. Lower your arm. Let's do one more of those on each side. This coordination isn't bad. I just almost was going to bypass all the sensations and the feeling. That was the whole point of this workout. Reaching up, rooting down into the foot, big side bend. You might feel your hips sway out a little bit. That's fine. Back up and lower your arm. All right, so now we've always got this opposing energy. We're going to play around with adding your legs for a little cross step. So if you know a curtsy, it's like that. I'm going to take one arm overhead as I step the arm across, and then I'm just going to go back and forth. Now, if you take class with me a lot, this isn't usually how I do the arms. I'm just simplifying them a little bit. I've taken out the windmill. Because if you're working on your coordination, I want you to have time to make that opposition, pushing through the foot and reaching the arm. I know it doesn't look as dancey as how we usually do it. And reach and return. Let's do this for 3. Plant into the foot. Send that arm overhead. And 2. And 1. All right, and back up. Last but not least, drop and catch squat. All right, so we had this flex and extend before. We're kind of going to give it a different emphasis, a different rhythm. Take your arms up to the ceiling. All right, and just decide what vertical neutral is for you. Pushed into the heels, reaching up. Now I want you to take your body, knock it just off its vertical axis into a slight extension. And now you are a catapult. We've got the rope pulling the thing with the rock in it back. We're going to cut that rope, and real quick, you're just going to collapse that energy towards the floor. Come on back up and just slow exaggerate setting it up, and then cut the rope and release. And lift. Now what we want to create here is a quick fall. You're catching yourself with the rocking swing at the bottom and a slow lift to the top. So I collapse, my weight shifts back to front, and I lift. Let's do 4. And I don't know how much you're looking at me because I know you're doing it, but I'm shifting my feet quite a bit at the bottom. I'm going to the heels, back to the toes, and when I get up to the top, the heels again. 2 more. And lift. Last one. Release. And back up. Ba-boom. You're done for today. All right. I hope you have a great day. See, you thought these foundational workouts were going to be boring. No, we're just going to cover weird foundational stuff. See you later.